This podcast is powered by the Mitt TV of Romeo, Michigan. If you're looking to start a podcast for your business or personal use, look no further than the Mitt TV. Their in-studio podcast experience allows you to record perfect audio and capture amazing video. That's all right here at the Mitt TV podcast studio in Romeo, Michigan. Contact them now via email for a free consultation and to schedule a studio visit at mitt.tvpodcast@gmail.com. We're here with Lou Welch tonight, and today's program is focusing on getting to know our candidates that are up for election on November 5th. And we get a lot of response from our viewers and our residents, especially this time of year, about getting to know who is going to be on the ballot. Because basically, you see your flyers, you see your signs, you know the name, but you really don't know much about them. And if you're not, watching the meetings or involved in the different, areas, whether it be education or, the village or Bruce Township or all of these areas, you don't even know how many board members there are,
right?
What they do, and if you don't have kids in school, then you don't know what they, how important it is, for that position.
Absolutely.
So we invite everybody as a public service to come and talk to us a little more casually, talk a little bit about your life and why you're here and all that. And then we'll get into some, questions about the position of Board of Education, because that's the position that you're running for.
Yep.
And as we talked earlier as we came in today, we have all kinds of connections. It's like all in the family around here in this area. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
So Ruth, I am fifth generation in Romeo.
Wow, I didn't know that either.
Yes, I go back 5 generations. John and Mary Welch, who are they're all buried in the Romeo Cemetery. Starting in the oldest section first, and then you work your way back. My son has actually, for a class, was able to walk his class through all 5 generations, because I think it's very important for him to know his history here in the village in Washington Township.
So you have kids in the school also?
Yes, absolutely. I have two sons. One is attending Washington Elementary, and the other is just started the high school. Okay. So he's learning the high school thing in 10th grade. He attended the 9th grade academy last year.
And he picked his academy last year?
So. He did. He's Health and Human Services. Yeah. He wants to be a dentist. So
wonderful.
We're hoping he'll follow his desire there. So, but yes, 5th generation, grew up in Romeo. I grew up on the east side of the village, delivered newspapers to the entire north section of town, the Detroit News. Whether it was my red wagon or my bicycle, I have a lot of, over the years, it's decreased the amount of people that I know, but I still have a lot of deep connections. Obviously with some of my signs and stuff, when you've been around,
I've seen them. I've seen them everywhere. You got some good locations too.
One is Romeo Medical. I mean, Dr. White is in his 80s. He was my grandparents' doctor. When my mom asked him if I could have a sign there, he's like, absolutely, for anything for Louis. So anybody that knows me, my real name is Louis. And anyway, but there you have it. I live in Washington Township currently.
Okay.
At 27 in Van Dyke. We are raising our 2 boys there. I have a beautiful wife, Nicole. Her family moved over to the west side, and then we got married and decided we wanted to be in this area. So, and then it's been 20 years this year.
Wow.
And had 2 kids, and it was very important that we put them in Romeo schools. I'm very passionate about the Romeo Community Schools. So when we were in Macomb, it was during the housing crisis, and our kid was going to start school, and I was like, so we did school of choice to make sure he was in, and then eventually, it becomes like driving every day. So we were like, okay, it's time to make the move. And so we made the move to Washington Township. Back then it was hard just like it is now, hard to find a home. And we did that. And even my youngest, once we got back, and it was easier, I'm so passionate about, he attended Croswell just for daycare. And
Really?
I push Croswell every day. I mean,
Yeah.
why would you pay double the price when we have the best school?
Yeah. Did you
And
see that new place
oh,
that are
it's
there?
yeah, it's beautiful.
It's
Yep.
gorgeous. I was
So
just taking pictures of that to make a post.
yep,
It's
yeah.
beautiful what they've
So
done. And it's nice that you have the advantage of a child actually that has gone through the academies, so you can kind of understand, you know, what the board did, what our supervisors, brought to the table in this new idea. And they fought hard for that,
yep,
and now we're reaping the rewards. And you can see how, your kids are now, going into a different field, getting jobs. And it's just especially like was it your son that started in ninth grade, the
uh,
ninth grade academy?
he went through the ninth grade, but I believe he's the first class to do the academy through
Hmm.
its entire,
Yeah.
like from start to finish. I think
Right,
he's the
right.
first class that, if I remember right. I don't want to.
So you had knowledge there
Yeah, yeah,
then about the Board of Education, and because a
yeah.
lot of people don't, until they get in these positions. It's always nice to have somebody with experience and also children, in our system, because I think they've done a really
They
great job.
they have. There's nothing that's absolutely broken, and I'm
Right.
not running for this office or this
Position.
position
Hmm.
because I think it's broken.
Right.
Or can there be some fine tuning? I come
Hmm.
from the financial, as you and I talked previously. I
Right.
come from the finance industry. I'm big on numbers.
Hmm.
And when I say numbers, bigger numbers, right? That's what I deal with every day, in the millions and the billions. Um, so I think I have that to lend.
Hmm.
We need to leave the educating piece to our professionals.
Right.
My wife is a new teacher. She decided to leave the corporate life after 22 years
Hmm.
and be a teacher. And she's a teacher in our neighboring district, Elmont. And it would be like me trying to tell her how to do her job every day.
Right. Yeah. Don't dare do that.
Yeah, exactly. And so the teaching part needs to be up to the professionals. That's their job,
Mhm. Right.
including administrators. But when you get into managing money, taxpayers' money,
Hmm.
you need to listen to the taxpayers. You need to have transparency to them. You need to explain to them. And I get they may not come to the meetings every time, but that's your job to get out there and tell them.
Right. And
And
with
so,
your financial background, I mean, we watch every meeting because we film them. And if you saw last meeting, they're doing pretty good.
yes,
They got their
yeah,
audit, and
absolutely. Yep. It
I
was very
mean,
nice to see.
yeah,
Yep.
they were spot on. They
Yep.
had nothing to say as far as improvement, and nothing but kudos, to our district, to Dr. Robinson and
Yep.
and the board.
So, it's just, what do I have to lend?
Hmm.
And it's the little things. I've had a kid go through the district.
Hmm.
We've stumbled along the way. We've got up. So those are things that I'm just gonna,
Yeah. Well, we've had some big things that have knocked us down, the whole world.
yep, yep,
You've
absolutely,
watched your
yep,
own kids go through, your whole family has gone through COVID and everything that we
yep,
went through, then. And I think they handled it very well. And that's a very difficult situation.
yep. I get this question a lot. I was for kids getting back in school,
Mm-hmm.
whether it be with a mask or without a mask.
Mm-hmm.
That's not up to me. I'm not a doctor. Nor am I ever going to try to be.
Mm-hmm.
Did I think it was important to get our kids back into school? Absolutely. And I said that in public hearings.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not going to sit here and say that, whether somebody should get a shot or somebody, that's a personal decision. What they do, I can't dictate that.
Between
So,
the parents.
the parent and the
Right.
child.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And, obviously we have state laws that we have to follow.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not thinking because I'm going to get elected to a board that I get to change Michigan, because
Right.
that's not what Romeo School Board's doing.
Right.
So
They worked the best they could with
exactly
the laws
what
that
they
were
had.
right,
Yeah.
right. And talking about that period of time, that was a very tumultuous time for the board. Like I said, we film them all, so I watch them all. And it was a very difficult period of time because there was so many different opinions, and they were all based on fear. Basically because it was the unknown. No one
Mhm.
really knew. We
Right.
were just grabbing, whatever information and doing the best we can. And, a lot of people, a lot of parents talk about the mental issues that, our students went through along with the parents. And, it was a very difficult time. And I do ask the question of all of the people that are going out for this position, is that paramount, on your mind as far as, the mental stress and the mental health of students
Oh,
now,
oh, absolutely. And that's why having a school nurse,
Mm-hmm.
obviously you watch the meetings,
Mm-hmm.
how much I spoke up having a
Yes.
full-time, not a nurse paid by, edu staff, a nurse paid by the district full-time with benefits. It's very important.
Right.
And it's not going to go away from me. It's something I believe in.
Right. You have been an advocate of that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it needs to for a district our size, it needs to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like it needs to be there. So I will always continue to support that. And obviously, with the shootings, I've been an advocate with Sam Praviti on
Right.
trying to get an officer at our ninth grade academy.
Mm-hmm.
My son went through the academy. It needs an officer.
Yep.
Some of the stuff I heard was unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
And it should have its own officer. There's so many times that the principal's not even in the building because she's at the high school in meetings.
Right.
And she should be.
Right.
And she should be over at the high school in meetings, not worrying about what's going on in her school from a safety standpoint, or if something went awry and there was a threat. She doesn't have to worry about it because there's an officer in the building.
Right.
And I will still stand by that. That needs to happen. It absolutely needs to happen.
Where is that with the officer and what with Washington?
So I believe there's not a whole lot of support by either the administration or the current board to have that position.
But we have
I know
a board
Washington,
now.
right, exactly. And I know Washington, Sam was dealing with some of his,
Yeah.
but he also has a new board.
Right.
And I think there's support for it.
There are.
But it was, I don't want to say disappointing because anything that we can make our schools more secure, but we passed up wanting to do an officer for the ninth grade academy, but we're going to hire a director of security.
Right. Yeah. We need boots on the ground.
I need people. Yes. I need somebody that can defend our children.
Right.
We need to put our children first.
Yeah.
And
I remember you talking about that.
And I'm going to stand, I will stand by that. And I got passionate. I do get passionate. I'll talk about
Nothing
that.
wrong with that.
I know there was a video about me and how I acted. I'm a passionate person, Ruth.
Yeah.
And when I believe something, I believe in it. And if I make a mistake, and Lord knows, in my career, I make some mistakes.
Sure.
You apologize for them.
Right.
And you make them right.
Well,
And, if the taxpayers so choose to elect me to the board, which I hope they do, I may stumble along the way. I'm going to learn. I've never been on a school board.
Right.
But I won't hide from that parent that I maybe made the mistake, and I'll own up to it.
Right.
I'm not going to go in a room and make decisions. And if I'm going to vote against something, I'm going to vote against it. Like I'm not going to go in a room and come out and all yays and there's no nays and nobody understands what went on. I mean, we passed a board policy at the last meeting and I reached out to several people that sat in the audience and nobody knows what the policy was.
Right. Yeah. I know.
So that's just, it's transparency. It's just being open. These people are paying, we asked for a lot of bonds and I'm very supportive of the bonds and Dr. Robinson knows that. But we owe the parent, we owe the taxpayers and the parents
to know
what they're doing, what they're paying for.
Yeah.
If they want to come and voice their opinion. And they may say things to me that I'm not going to like, but part of being elected is you're not always going to want to hear what
most of the time you're not. You're going to go out to every restaurant. They're going to approach you, and that comes to, another question that a lot of people have is how, you as a business person, your wife is a teacher, your children are in school. How do you plan to dedicate the time it takes? We talk about critical thinking a lot, but to get the packet, decipher all of the information, because sometimes there's a lot of things.
Oh, absolutely.
A lot of items to work out and do the background work. How are you planning on kind of designating your time for
So,
this position?
yeah. So obviously in what I do, I have 28 different locations. I'm responsible for people's investment, right?
Yeah.
And these are people's big lifetime investments that I'm responsible for. And it's time management. I mean, you have to be able to manage your time. And one of the things I did is, I took almost a year to decide if I was going to do this. And I looked at my wife last January and I said, the time's coming. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to decide in February, and I'm going to get on the ballot in February. I'm not going to wait till July. And so I thought about it. I consulted with, my company that I work for, and talked to them, am I good? To make sure I wasn't imposing on anything, that nothing was going to get in the way, for the conflict of interest. And they were good. And, I just sat down and I said, well, figure it out. And, what I deal with every day is, people calling me with problems. That's my job.
Yeah.
And so I have to figure, it's the same here. It's time management. Running the campaign, I mean, I'm constantly putting out, this sign's gone or that's gone or this is gone. And I'm still doing a day job every day.
Right.
And,
but why did you feel that it was so important to take the time away from your business, your family, and everything else you do? Why did you feel that it was important for you to get involved in this particular position?
So something with the Welches, going back to the generations, my family came here as missionaries to help people settle to the area. And there's some debate on, I'm trying to find the exact date of when they came here, but they always gave back. And early on, my dad always said, I want you to put your stamp on something. Put your stamp. My grandfather, he was very, I don't know if back then it was running the road commission but he lived right across from, he was responsible to make sure the road commission got going in the winters.
Okay.
He lived right across the street. And so he was known for that. And just, my aunt and uncle, they ran the, what was called White Gables back in the day. It was the folks who didn't have a home, that were elderly, and they were the ward of the state. And my aunt and uncle would take them in and they would have a comfortable home. They got fresh cooked meals every day. And I was like, what can I do? What can I do? And education has just always been passionate for me. I'm very passionate about it. Ask my two boys, they'll tell you.
Yeah.
I live in Power School. I'm trying to get better with it as one's in high school, because obviously it's a little bit different, you know. Yeah. But I just have a passion for education. And then I have some political science background, and working in a clerk's office in my senior year, I was like, I'm going to do this. I think I could do this. Yeah. And
you have a strong history, a strong family history here, and philanthropy and public service.
Yeah, and I'm not going to hide. We left, my parents divorced, and it was before school of choice. And so you couldn't decide to still go to the same school. So I had to leave, and I graduated from Roseville for my final year, and that's where I worked for the Roseville City Clerk. And today, Ruth, the superintendent of Roseville Schools is one of my wife and our dearest friends. Yeah, who have a cottage down the street from us. It's in your blood. Isn't it a small world?
Yes, it is.
It and I talked to him about it. Here's what I want to do, and he gave me some good advice and told me, hey, here's what the position is. You're not going to change it. So I talked to a lot of people around the state. I talked to people who ran, who lost. I talked to people who won. And what would you do different? What would you do different? And that's what I took the last year doing that. And I just kind of did that.
You've talked to a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the stories, I talked to a guy and he's like, I would go to board meetings. I put dum-dum suckers on the table. I was like, he didn't win. I was like, maybe that's not a good idea. So I went with the Welch's fruit snacks with my picture on them.
There you go. I love those. I love those grape ones.
Anyway, I hope that answered your question on that. But
yes, it did. It did. And you're very well versed and you have been at this for a long time. And a lot of people that are going out for this position aren't. How do you see yourself with conflict resolution, at the board level? If you come to a vote that, on something that you're passionate with, what do you bring to the table as far as, going across the table and speaking to somebody and maybe trying to get them to look at something differently, the way you look at it?
Yeah.
How do you handle that?
Yeah. Obviously, with me having a political science background, you have to work across the aisle.
Yeah.
Now, there shouldn't be politics in our schools.
No.
The Macomb Daily, they interviewed me right at the end of the parade, and one of the thing I told him was, there's no room for politics in our schools, and we need to put our students first. That's my saying, and I stick with it. But at the end of the day, we have to work together to get stuff done, because we're not always going to see eye to eye, but we can do that with respect and get through it. And maybe I might vote on something that I'm not totally 100%, but I'm going to get something else in exchange for it. But you know what? As long as you're open with the taxpayers who voted you and put you there, why you did that, you'll be fine in the end. It's when you're not transparent with the people who put you in that seat that it becomes an issue.
Right.
And that's where I have an issue with the current board, is because they never ran, and I shouldn't say all of the current, obviously some did campaign, but up until a few years ago, there was no competition. So people just landed on the board and they didn't owe anything to anybody. Well, we do. We owe our taxpayers. They pay a lot of money, and you owe them an answer. So yes, I will work with anybody. I mean, in my job, I have to work with, if I'm trying to get a line of credit, or get a customer approved on a car, I've got to work. I don't do that. I have to work with people, and I have to convince people this is why this person should get a second chance.
Sure.
So.
And really, they're, over the years, when we've been filming them for almost 10 years now, it just seems like since COVID, there has been a lot more conflicts, and there has been a lot more brought into that realm of the Board of Education. And then in a small town, and even though, our district is large, it's still a small town environment where rumors are started. And, we've gone through a lot of social media, craziness. And, there's a lot of people that want to sit behind a screen and be champions for a cause, but they never get involved, and so that we've, as a community, have heard a lot of things about the schools. And, we hear things from Furbies, to having a right to be a Furby.
Right.
To having the right for the transgender bathrooms. That's been a huge element, a huge discussion between, many people. Where do you stand in that when that comes up? Where do you stand with transgender bathrooms? Yeah,
so with transgender bathrooms,
if it even becomes
if it becomes an issue, I don't believe that's ever going to be a district issue.
Right.
I believe the state would make a mandate, or whatever it may be, is going to be at a state level. That is not, it may be something that a district is going to have to adopt. I don't think there's going to be a lot of choice, or you're going to give up federal dollars, state dollars. Are you going to make your kids suffer because you have to offer a certain bathroom? I'm Catholic. I'm a conservative. I have values, but we have to treat it's a public education system, and we have to treat every kid equally, and whatever that may be. But that doesn't mean we have to. Nobody's a cat, or nobody's a dog here. We're not putting kitty litter boxes in the bathroom. Now, whether we got to put a bathroom that makes somebody feel more comfortable, that's different. Okay. Right. I want to be clear here that I'm not for kitty litter boxes in a bathroom, but if it's giving somebody, and it doesn't have to be a bathroom, it can be something else that, I know of kids that don't feel comfortable with boys showering with boys. And it's not that they're any different gender. They're not through the puberty stage that they feel that comfortable.
Right.
You know, now when I went to school in 10th grade, part of your grade was they threw us all in the locker room and you stood around a shower and you didn't have a choice whether you took a shower.
Right.
In fact, I took what was called 0 hour back then because I was like, I can avoid taking a shower at home and I just take it at school and then I get a few more minutes of sleep. You know, we have to make all of our kids feel comfortable at school. It's a public education system, as I said earlier.
Right.
Everybody deserves to be there and everybody should feel comfortable there. Now, there are limitations where none of us are a cat or a dog. Okay. I feel that's part of raising your child.
I told my guys here about it and they didn't believe me. They didn't believe me.
Now, I've also had an administrator tell me a lot of it. The whole litter box thing is is a Facebook or social media thing that got loose, and whether I don't know. I'm not a fact checker.
Conspiracy theory.
Yeah, right.
I haven't seen any kitty litter in any school.
No, I haven't either.
In a lot of schools, and have not seen it in our school either. So, but speaking of social media, you know, we also offer the space within this program to talk about anything that you do want to address, possibly a rumor or something on social media. And like you said, you know, a couple people have said something about you and your speeches, you know, because you're so passionate.
Yep.
But is there anything that you'd like to dispel or address as far as any rumors or anything on social media?
You know, Ruth, not that I know. So and I told my campaign manager this yesterday, or maybe it was this morning. I'm drama free.
Yeah.
I work a day job. I know, drama free, right? Drama free. I don't have time for that. Yeah. I don't have time to get on Facebook and, you know, dispute why my sign came up missing or, you know, I just don't have time for that. And that's not why we're here.
Right.
I'm not here to make it about Lou Welch, but of course I want name recognition. Obviously, people need to know who Lou Welch is, but it's not about me. It's about the kids of our district. It's about putting our kids first. And obviously, you see my sign, kids first. Right. I mean, anybody that knows me, Ruth, and you and I know a lot of the same people. They will tell you how passionate I am about it.
You are.
I used a local vendor. You know, Francie does all my signs. You can ask her. I've been doing signs with her and banners for 5 years now because my kids play hockey. And I think it's so important when they go on travel trips to have a banner outside the room that says their name and their number. And parents don't want to pay for that stuff. But that's something my wife and I did because it's giving back.
Right.
It's putting the kids first. And so when I went into this, I don't know how I jumped it up one night. It was just like, students first. That's what it is. We need to put our students first. And, you know, and everybody's like, well, why aren't the teachers first? Well, teachers have their own, that's their own respect level. My wife, obviously being a teacher,
right. And they have their own
trust me, if I don't respect her, I'm getting put in my place. But, you know, teachers deserve, I wish I could pay them, obviously,
more.
That's a union thing.
Well, that's another subject.
That's a whole nother subject about how much they make. I'm all about them making more and better benefits. And, but obviously we have to deal with the cards we're dealt with from our state. And hence I did the lottery basket for, I think, the chamber. I'm trying to, hey, there's some, if I'm given something, maybe some of this money's going back to education.
Everybody loved that too.
And
it went to a really good person.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
So that's just the little things. You know, coming up on the teachers, I want to talk about the unions.
Yes.
Obviously, I don't know if that was on your, if you were looking.
Next question.
Next question.
Well, I'll
lead you into that. So, you know, part of my tenure at my current employer was, I was about 23, 24 years old, and my boss came up to me, and it was a her, and she said, "Do you want to go work on Pontiac?" I was like, "Doing what?" "Oh, you'll be the supervisor for the UAW people there." And I was like, I'm 24 years old. These people are old enough to be my dad.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah. I never turned down any position that I was offered. And I was like, because my dad taught me, you They will pick your career for you.
Mm-hmm.
You just do it. And so I did. And honestly, I will tell you, it was the best experience I ever had. I ended up being promoted to be their manager.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up getting involved in union negotiations. And, before I left what we call the factory side of the business, I ended up having both union and contract working together. And they all got along well.
Mm-hmm.
They all were happy. We kept the union working. It achieved what the company was trying to do,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody was happy. And that's something I'm able to do, is I've done it. Like,
Right.
it's not something I say I can do. I've done it. I have the history. And,
Right.
and some of those people, Ruth, they're still dear friends of mine.
Mm-hmm.
They're UAW, and I
Yeah.
was management. But you know what? At the end of the day, I did what was right for them.
Mm-hmm.
If they had a family emergency, I get that the contract says this or that, or you make the best decision.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes my management didn't always look at me and say that was the best decision. But you do what's right for your employees.
Mm-hmm.
Just like as if the taxpayers choose to elect me,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do what's right for the teachers. And I'm going to do what's right for our students.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't find that you need to put teachers first, because I'm always going to do what's right for them too. It's just
That's just you.
It's who I am. It's
But that's
anybody
good
that knows
you have
me
that
that
experience too.
yes,
When you're dealing with coming back into this environment, and that's definitely paramount. And all of the board, that we interview and talk to, that I talk to every day, is the differences between the unions, the way
it's a
they
give and
think,
take.
and
It's a give and take, and everybody has to meet in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
It's no different than when you're at the board table dealing with other board members.
Right.
You can't go in. I this year I heard, well, we're going in, we have a budget. You can't go to the table like that. You just can't.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not true negotiating.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go to that with those union leaders and those negotiators. You have to go in open-minded, because they will sense it. If you're not open-minded, they can sense it.
Mm-hmm.
They know. People aren't stupid.
Right.
And you just have to go in and do the best you can and
Well,
do it openly.
If you were able to encapsulate it, because basically you've already said it, throughout your interview, what would you say to your voters, ones that are going to show up on November 5th and not know who to vote for? What would you tell them? Why should they vote for you?
I would ask humbly for their vote, because I'm going to put the students first. We're going to remove politics from the schools, or I'm going to work to remove politics from the schools. I'm not going to say I can do it all, but it definitely will be top on my agenda.
Mm-hmm.
And that I'm going to keep them informed. And that's the biggest thing is listening to them. And I'm going to be involved. I'm going to be at events. It was so disappointing last year. I go to a state of the district,
Yeah.
and our president of the board's not there. I was like, how can you not? Like, you got to be there with your people, and you may not want to hear the bad points, but you know what?
Yeah.
I just want to share a short story. I was in Kroger's parking lot. I was walking out, and I have my little, I don't know if you saw my little magnets on the side of the car, right? Those can be good and bad. And he's like, "Are you Lou Welch?" I was like, "Absolutely, I am." And he's like, and he wanted to share a story with me. I'm not going to get into it. He wanted to share a story with me, and he was so passionate about it. And it was about sports. And I went back and, I thought about my child and experiences. And I was like, that's not right that parent, and the fact that the parent thinks nobody listens to him, nobody will return his call, it's unacceptable.
Yeah.
And so, it's being transparent. And I guess I would tell the taxpayers, I'm here. I'm here to listen. I will always listen to you. Stop me. If you see me out and about, hopefully I've had my picture out there.
You are. You're everywhere I am. I
right.
I run into you all the time.
I hope that that wraps it up. But I just humbly ask for everybody's vote on November 5th, and I will work very hard.
Well, we can already tell. that you're
Thank
going to
you.
be a hard worker.
I appreciate that.
So, and we appreciate you, giving us the time and talking to the residents, talking to the voters,
Thank you.
one on one. And, they can watch this on our Facebook page, on your web page, on our YouTube station, and listen to it on Spotify. So a lot of people are listening to podcasts now on the way
I
here
know
from
that's a new
work.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
We
So-
actually have it within my company. We actually have a gentleman who does podcasts.
Oh, that's a great idea.
And they encourage us to listen to him while you're driving.
Yeah.
Listen to it. And
On your way home, like
he's
people
very
want to
engaging.
listen to work on the way home.
Yeah,
you
right.
know? But yes,
That's awesome.
yes, you've shared everything. You've covered it very nicely. So I appreciate it.
Yeah. And I want to thank you for everything, Ruth, you do for Romeo Community Schools. I know you give a lot.
Thank
You
you.
share this facility a lot. And as
Yeah.
a taxpayer, not as a board member, as a taxpayer, I greatly appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
They're here every week.
Awesome.
So if you get on that board, you'll be here.
There you
You'll
go.
be podcasting. Do you
Awesome.
watch their program?
I do. Yeah.
It's always
On
very
and off.
informative, and
Yeah,
it's
very
all
cool.
different areas. It's really nice. They bring the students in, and another thing that they do amazingly well. And at the meeting the other night, the kids are now reporting in their different grades,
Yep.
to the board, and it's really nice to see. It's a wonderful community. I was born and raised here, and I came back here to give back, and we'll continue to do that.
Yeah. Same here. And it was,
I know our families.
I know. And I missed it this year. And then Miss Kay, I had her first year.
Yes.
The first year she taught, she was my
Yes.
teacher.
Yes.
And then to have my son, going to the high school, I was hoping he would have her for a teacher, but now he works for her. So,
Oh yeah.
it's awesome.
Well, you
It's,
say your children went to Washington Elementary. I went to the real Washington Elementary in
okay,
Washington
yeah.
Township.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's now the museum.
Museum. I'm an
So-
Amanda Moore, and
okay.
I have to say I attended Amanda Moore, and
Yeah.
and I'm a Romeo Middle. So in the
Yeah.
Romeo Middle, that's
Got it in your blood.
yeah, it's in my blood. And was it the right thing? Yeah, we moved forward. It's the right thing, and it probably needed to come down. And
Change is hard.
trust me,
Change
it's
is hard.
it's odd, it's hard, it's everything, but it's the right thing, and
Yeah.
we're moving forward, and we're gonna keep Romeo schools great.
Wonderful. Well, we're so
awesome.
glad that you decided to go out for this position, and good luck to you, sir.
Thank you,
And
Ruth.
thank you for joining
Thank you
us.
so much.
All right.
Bye bye.
Bye.